TNA No Surrender 2011 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view just went off there a little while ago, and what I got to say for this pay-per-view is pretty much the pay-per-view was like last month's TNA pay-per-view, and it's just another throwaway pay-per-view from TNA, which I think a lot of us were expecting this, with last month's pay-per-view and this month's pay-per-view, because around this time of the year, TNA is just pretty much building up to Bound for Glory in October, and what they do pretty much for the pay-per-view before it, and they did it with the last month's pay-per-view, 2 pay-per-views before Bound for Glory, pretty much just do them as shows to further the build for Bound for Glory and just more or less just have a 3-hour edition of Impact on pay-per-view, because that's exactly what this show felt like. There's really nothing I would recommend on this show other than maybe one match. There is maybe one match I would somewhat recommend, which was the only thing I was really looking forward to with this show, which was the X Division title match with Aries versus Brian Kendrick. And I wasn't really looking forward to the match the most. What I was looking forward to the most was, thankfully they did it, which was Aries becoming the new X Division champion. It's really the only thing I was really looking forward to with this pay-per-view, and thankfully they did make him X Division champion, which I think is a good move right there. And that's really the only thing I would recommend, especially if you're an Aries fan. You would want to see that, him win the X Division championship. And actually, Brian Kendrick, for a change, actually looked pretty good in the match with Aries tonight. So that's really the only match I would recommend on this show. Everything else was, either below average, watchable, and the main event, I would say, wasn't terrible, but it wasn't that good, and the ending was kind of a little goofy, I would say. The first matchup was Kid Kash versus Jesse Sorensen. This was the #1 contenders match for an X Division title shot. Actually started off pretty good. Jesse and Kid Kash at the beginning going back and forth pretty good. Then it kind of got a little sloppy. I wouldn't really blame that on Jesse. It seemed like it was more Kid Kash's fault. Kind of kept botching up. Then it got real sloppy, and Jesse kind of picked it up a little bit. I actually don't mind him that much. He won this match by beating Kid Kash, and I would say about a 1 3/4 star match. It was at least watchable. The crowd is really behind Jesse, I would say, so it's kind of good, a new face for the X Division, and he actually doesn't seem terrible, I would say. Then the next matchup was Bully Ray versus James Storm. This is the first of the semifinals matches in the Bound for Glory series match. This match, I would say, wasn't really much of anything. You saw some decent back and forth action with these two, but nothing really at all. And that match ends in disqualification. What they do is, during one part in the match, Bully Ray, he grabs the beer from outside. He spits it in James Storm's face. Referee obviously didn't see it. Then towards the end of the match, and this is how the match ended in disqualification, James Storm tried to spit the beer in Bully Ray's face. Bully Ray moved out of the way, and he accidentally spit in the ref's face. So James Storm loses this match via disqualification, so Bully Ray wins this match. And with this match, Bully Ray got 2 points, and obviously he was still #1 in the Bound for Glory series standing. Then the next matchup was Winner versus Mickie James for the Knockouts title. I'm actually somewhat of a fan of Winner, but stuff I've seen her in TNA, she hasn't done much of anything good. I actually somewhat liked her in WWE, and I actually liked some of her stuff on the indie scene before she went to WWE. But in TNA, she just isn't doing much. It just seems like she's going through the motions. A somewhat watchable women's match. Pretty much the ending, which you would expect, which was Winner retained the Knockouts title after spitting the mist in Mickie James' face. So Winner wins this match to retain the title, and I would say about a 1.5 star match. Then the next matchup was the Pope and Devon versus Mexican America for the tag team titles. This actually wasn't as bad as what I was expecting. It actually was at least a watchable tag match. I was expecting something really terrible with these two teams, because I'm a fan of Hernandez, just don't like, the other guy that's teaming up with him. And, the Pope's good, Devon's a good tag team wrestler, so it kind of turned out to be better than I was expecting, so it wasn't a terrible match. Mexican America, they retained the titles in this match. At the end of the match, Rosita got in the ring. The Pope was going after her. Then at the end of the match, Rosita pretty much held the Pope's foot when I think it was Hernandez that got the pinfall in this match on the Pope for the win. And about 2-star match. It was at least watchable. It actually was a little better than I was expecting. Then the next matchup was Samoa Joe versus Matt Morgan. These two actually worked pretty well with each other. Saw some good back and forth action. The crowd was into this. I actually don't mind Joe's heel persona. I just do not like, with him being a heel, he should at least have some victories under his belt. He's pretty much going through this, losing spell, which I guess I get that's what's, triggering him, being pissed off and this heel thing, but you need to do something with Samoa Joe and actually have him win some matches. I mean, it just seems like Joe has not won one match on a pay-per-view this year, I don't think at all. That's how much he's on a losing streak within TNA. And a guy like Joe is someone they should be pushing really strong, but they're just not doing it. So, I mean, Joe, whenever his time's up, he might want to give WWE a try, especially with TNA not doing anything with him. Like I said, pretty decent match, good back and forth action. Morgan wins the match with a carbon footprint, I would say, in about a 2 1/4, maybe 2.5-star match. Then the next matchup was Gunner versus Bobby Roode. Just like the other semifinals, Bound for Glory series match, wasn't much of anything in my opinion. Bobby Roode wins this match, and the thing they did in this match was they basically had to win. Either Bobby Roode or Gunner had to win this match via submission, which the match did end in submission. The reason why they had to do that was because if they would have won by pinfall, they wouldn't have been able to beat Bully Ray, which they didn't even beat Bully Ray. The winner of this had to get submission just to tie Bully Ray in the standings of the Bound for Glory series, which I was thinking that they were just going to have that match and have that determined. Since Bully Ray and Robert Roode are both tied, I thought they were just going to wait till Impact to do it, but they actually did that match on the pay-per-view, which I thought was something good. At least they didn't have to. At least they made a reason for this tournament and didn't have to say, well, you have to wait till the finals to actually see it on free television. So thankfully they didn't do that. And actually, I thought Bully Ray and Bobby Roode actually had a pretty decent match. That match right there, the Gunner and Bobby Roode, I'll probably give it about 2 stars. It was watchable. Like a lot of these matches, they were either watchable or below average, as you're seeing. The next matchup was really the match I actually got into. This was the one match on the show I would actually somewhat recommend people to go out their way to see. This was Aries versus Brian Kendrick for the X Division title. Now, when I'm saying recommend this, don't expect to see a classic or an awesome match. It was just a pretty good match with these two, and the best thing on this pay-per-view, which kind of with this show and a lot of stuff being so weak, it's really not saying too much, but it was actually a pretty decent match with these two, and Brian Kendrick, for a change, actually looked really good in this match. Good back and forth action. The crowd was really into it. Aries looked great in this match, and thankfully, Aries is the new X Division champion. He won with the Brainbuster to Kendrick in this match, so he's the new X Division champion. I would say about a 3 1/4-star match, easily the best match of the night. Then the next matchup, this was announced after the Bobby Roode match with Gunner, after Bobby Roode beat him via submission, that the finals of and the determination of who will go on to Bound for Glory to take on the champion will be decided on this pay-per-view. So basically an unadvertised match right here. Bully Ray versus Bobby Roode, and determine who wins the Bound for Glory series. And this was actually a pretty decent match. I actually was surprised how good these two worked with each other. You saw some good back and forth action. Someone really enjoyed this match. Bobby Roode, I thought, looked really good, and the crowd obviously really behind him. Bully Ray, I'm glad he didn't win this and go on to Bound for Glory, but he is a good heel, and he does know how to, get the crowd, basically get on to the crowd, and he's a good job at getting that heel heat, and he's pretty decent. He's decent, but I'm glad we don't have to see him go for the World Heavyweight title. And Bobby Roode against whoever the World Champion is, which we knew after this was Kurt Angle being World Heavyweight Champion. Bobby Roode and Angle might actually have a pretty good match at Bound for Glory. Now, if it stays a singles match, we're not sure. Maybe they might change it to a triple threat with Crimson coming back. We'll just have to wait and see. But if they keep it to being Bobby Roode and Angle, we might actually see a good world title match next month at Bound for Glory. And I wouldn't really want to see Bobby Roode as champion, not because I would hate him as champion, but because I think him and James Storm are such such a great tag team that I would want to see them stay as a tag team instead of singles wrestlers. But he could pull off a singles run if he wants, if TNA wants him to. I think he does have it in him to do it. And like I said, Bully Ray and Bobby Roode actually wasn't a bad match. I would probably give it about 2.5, maybe even 2 3/4 stars. Actually, was surprisingly well. Then the next matchup was the main event. This was Mr. Anderson versus Sting versus Kurt Angle for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Now, I know the one thing a lot of people are probably going to say that TNA probably should have punished Kurt Angle due to the recent, DUI arrest that happened over Labor Day weekend, which a lot of people can make that claim, and kind of does look like TNA has a little double standards because they basically fired Matt Hardy for it, and Matt Hardy was doing a couple other things that made him get fired as well. And then they kind of, they punished Jeff Hardy one time for getting in trouble, and he had to drop the title, and they didn't do it with Angle, so it kind of does look like double standards. The only reason why I don't hate it too much is because I don't want to see Sting as champion again, and Anderson going into one of TNA's TNA's building their next pay-per-view. That's one of the biggest shows. I don't think Anderson really could pull that. Angle, even through all of his troubles, I know some people will say, I'm kind of being a little hypocrite since I'm not saying Angle should have had to be forced to drop the title, but they didn't do that. So I know that's one thing that's probably going to come out of this pay-per-view is some people saying that Angle should have been forced to drop the title because of that. But Angle retained the title. The ending I thought was a little wacky. What they did was Sting got thrown into the guardrail. Angle threw him into the guardrail. Then you saw Hogan basically pop out of nowhere, sprayed mace into Sting's eyes. Sting got into the ring, was blinded. He thought he was hitting the death drop onto Angle, but he was actually hitting the ref. Then Angle basically low blowed him. The referee didn't see this. Then hit the Angle slam. So Angle retains the championship right there. And I would say about 2.5 star match. As far as the whole pay-per-view overall, I'd probably give it about a 5.5. The only reason I'm doing that is because you saw you saw at least the X Division title match I thought was pretty good. That was the one best thing on here. And Aries won the title. Main event was a little decent, and pretty much the rest of the show was very lackluster. So this is definitely a show I would say stay away from. Hopefully next month with Bound for Glory, hopefully TNA at least puts on a solid pay-per-view next month. Yeah, they don't even have to put on a great pay-per-view. I'll be pleased that they put on just a solid pay-per-view or a good pay-per-view because they definitely need to do it because they've had so many pay-per-views this year that have pretty much been just like this pay-per-view. You had one last month. You had a few others this year that have just been lackluster pay-per-views, very below average, and definitely with this show, nothing I would recommend people to go out their way to, order this show. Do not order this show. Really, the main thing I would see if you want to is if you're an Austin Aries fan, check out him winning the X Division title. And him and Kendrick had a pretty decent match. That was really the only thing come out of this pay-per-view that I actually enjoyed. So that's it for my TNA No Surrender pay-per-view. Like I said, I give it a 5.5 out of 10. Definitely stay clear of it. Wasn't a good show at all. And yeah, that's it. Peace.